Hey guys, this is Rich Coed, aka Reese's2150, here for the IGA Tutorial Contest 2011, and I'm recording once again from two camera sources right here, because both the tutorials that I'm making here require it for a better view. Now, the first trick I'm going to teach you is absolutely probably one of my favorite club tricks of all time, and it only takes one club. It is, of course, the hand balance single flip. Now, this move is done in a lot of different techniques. There are basically two techniques that you gotta learn, and this all depends on your style. There's the lofty technique, like that, where you're mostly giving it up and down throw, and it's coming back and just happens to do a spin while it's up there. And then there's the flick technique, which I prefer actually, where you just flick your wrist, don't give it that much height, and it just spins around and you stop it. Now, the difference between the two techniques: the lofty technique requires much more precision and height in order to do. The flick, but it's a hell of a lot more impressive looking. The flick technique just requires that you get it right, and are used to the feel of doing the hand balance flip and good at doing a hand balance, which is stage one, of course. Learning to do a good hand balance. Now, the place that I recommend you put the club for the best hand balance on your hand is, of course, not the palm, not the fingertips either. It's right here, right on the base of your middle and ring fingers. If you can see that on the camera right there, that is the space that you want, because it is the most sensitive, plus it's the best distance away. It's like the percussion point on a sword. That is the percussion point where you have the most control over your hand using your wrist and forearm. It's where you like to catch a ball usually as well. When you're juggling, you don't catch a ball on your fingertips. You don't catch it in the middle of your palm. You catch it right there at the base of your fingers. So it's the same way you balance a club, right there. Now, what you want to do is of course, as you know, doing a balance, you look a little bit above the center of gravity, which in this case is right about there, and you make sure that you have the center of gravity above the midpoint to make an easy balance. Now, what you do in order to work up to a balance flip is quite simple, really. It's as you would expect. Learn to throw the club up and catch it again. And when you're catching it, don't worry about getting it right on that percussion point of your hand. Don't worry about it. If you're focusing on that, you're not going to be able to recover, obviously. So what you want to do is just give the club a little bit of air once you've got it steady, and catch it pretty much just in the general area of that percussion point. Don't catch it on the fingertips unless you're really, really good, and definitely don't catch it on the palm of your hand. Just catch it somewhere in the general area of the percussion point. And what you want to do is, of course, like normal juggling, absorb the catch. But it's especially true here, because if you don't absorb the catch, you're not going to get a single bit of, the club's going to bounce and tilt. Plain and simple. So, you're absorbing the catch, and during that absorption is your time in which you make the corrections for how much the club is tilted in the air. Because, let's face it, until you get really, really good at it, you're never going to be able to throw a club perfectly straight up and down. It's going to have a little bit of a tilt coming back down. And that is when you will use your absorbing time to correct and make a really subtle correction after you catch it. So, plain and simple, that's what happens. Once you've made that, transition from being able to do this once in a while to being able to throw it and catch it, however many times you like, well, not exactly as high as you like, but, high enough that you can do a flip. During that height, it's time to do a flip. Again, there are two types of styles that you use. You learn the flick, and then you learn the lofty. I don't recommend people start off with a lofty unless you're just trying to get the trick on camera, in which case, that's the far easier one to get lucky with. The flick works in that you're just giving it a little bit of a height, and you're catching the club When it's coming back, before it reaches vertical, you're catching it at about a 30-degree angle and letting the friction and of the knob against your fingers, against your skin, and the weight and inertia of the club to push it back into a vertical position and make the catch, you know? If I tried to do a flick and catch it perfectly vertical, watch what happens. You miss it entirely. Because there's only 1 millisecond or so when it's vertical before the knob starts moving back upwards and away from your hand. So, you know, that's why you got to catch it early, to give yourself that appropriate window of time in which you can make the catch. If you don't have that window of opportunity large enough, you're never going to make it, and you're just going to end up catching a club like this every single time. So, once again, the flick, you're basically giving it just a little bit of height, but you're using mostly just your wrist to give it that motion. You're not using too much of your forearm. Basically, in this trick, you're giving the spin with your wrist and the forward height, or upward height rather, with your forearm. So, that's what you do. And of course, from there, you'll find balance that works for you. And you'll be able to do this over and over and over again after practice. And and you can see, once you get good at it, this is the easiest thing in the world. It really is. And in fact, I think I'm going to keep going because I've been thinking about setting a world record for this. The most hand balance flips done in under a minute, but it's tough as hell to keep going. But either way, you can see what I'm getting at. So, there you go. There's the hand balance flip right there, just like that. And then, of course, you can move on to double flips and half flips, which are a lot harder than you might think they are. And then, of course, you can go into really wild stuff like arm balance, like the arm balance trick, which I still have trouble with, which is why I put it in my videos once in a while. There we go, right there. That's a fun little trick to do, and then, of course, yeah, fun stuff to do with this trick, especially once you start doing 2 balances, 1 in each hand. That is tough, believe me. But anyway, I've ranted enough. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something.